Hi everyone and welcome back to the Daredevil Python Machine Learning Library series. And in this video, we're going to exploring the data set called Black Friday. So पिछली कुछ ट्यूटोरियल में हम लोग pandas, numpy, matplotlib and seaborn के बारे में जाना था और उस लाइब्रेरी को बहुत अच्छी तरीके से हम लोग एक्सप्लोर किया था. Now in this video, we are going to using this library to exploring this data set called Black Friday. So इसलिए इस वीडियो बहुत काफ़ी इंपॉर्टेंट भी होने वाले हैं क्योंकि यहाँ पर हम बहुत कुछ टेक्निक वगैरह सीखेंगे like how can you prepare the data set, how can you do the visualization and how can you handle the missing value. So better होगा आप पेन और पेपर लेके बैठ जाओ और watching this tutorial or you can save this video on your playlist. So without wasting your time, हर हर महादेव बोल के start करते हैं tutorial. So I already downloaded the dataset from the Kaggle that's called the Black Friday. And this is the data set with having the two CSV file, training file and the testing file. And also I stored this data set inside my folder that's called the data set. And inside this data set folder, I have the train.csv and the test.csv. So now what I can do, I'm trying to reading this file from my dataset folder, right? So for that, I need to import here some library. So we'll know about the NumPy, the pandas, the matplotlib, and the seaborn. So now what I can do, we can simply importing all the library that we learned before, right? So for that, I'm going to import here the pandas as PD. If you missed my previous 5 or 6 tutorial about the pandas, NumPy, matplotlib, and seaborn, just go on here on the playlist and check all of them because this is quite important to know about this library. So let's say NumPy as NP. And then what I can do, we can simply import here the matplotlib dot pyplot as plt, right? Plt. Then what I can do, we can simply import here the seaborn also. So let's say import seaborn as SNS. So as means is called the LIS. Using this one, you can actually access this library. And we also trying to give here the matplotlib inline so that we don't need to actually giving the plt.show command while you're trying to plotting some graph, right? So inline like that, and shift enter, or you can also click here to run this file. Now what I can do, we can simply loading the file from our dataset directory. So for that, what I can do, we can using the pandas because using this pandas, we can read the CSV file, we can read the HTML file, we can read the JSON file, we can read the XML file too. So this is nothing but one CSV file. So what I can do, we can simply use this pd.read CSV, and I have to give here the path. So see how I can actually give the path. So inside the dataset folder, I have my train.csv. Then what I can do, inside my dataset folder, I have my train.csv like that. Now what I can do, I can simply put this dataset inside a variable that's called a df train. That's a df train. Train. Okay, done. Shift enter, and you can see it is loading the dataset in my Jupyter notebook. Well, so इसके बाद क्या करना है, df.train देना है, इसके बाद देना है 5 head के अंदर 5 दे दो, 5 row or column you can show, right? You can see 5 actually you can see the 5 row actually showing up here. You can also give here the 10. You can see the 10 row, right? I mean 10 property, right? You can also make it blank, then you can see by default it give you the 5, right? So this is how you can load the train. Now what I can do, to also load the test one. So what I can do, I can simply copy this out and I'm going to paste it here, right? And I'm going to change this to be test. यहाँ पर test को change करना पड़ेगा, इसको बना दो by test, हो गया, right? Then देना है d of the test dot head, हो गया, खत्म, test भी load हो गया. So now let's check the shape of our data set, that how many row and how many column are available in our data set. So I can take one shell here. So let's say df train dot shape, and you can see here it having so many row and it have the 12 column, 12 features, right? So let's check for the test also. So let's say test. So df underscore test dot shape. Well, it having the 11 one. The test data, there is one missing column. So if I go on here, and you can see at the last, it have a missing column that's called the purchase. That's been based on this category, I need to predict the purchase. Now my question is it a supervised machine learning or the unsupervised machine learning? Which one? Just pause the video and think about it. Yes, it's the supervised machine learning because it having the target column, that's for the purchase. See the test column, it don't have the persist one. Now based on the value or the featured column, I need to predict the persist. I need to predict the persist. So because we are doing the exploratory data analysis, right? EDA. So what I can do, you can simply put all the data, inside uh, inside in a one single data frame. I mean, we're going to join them. So in order to join them, you can also use the pd.concatenations. So to do that, you can use pd.concat. So concat, and inside that, to giving that you train inside a list, and also your df.test inside a list. Then what I can do, you can simply store it the df data frame. Now it is joining all the data frame, and if I see the df.head, then you can see this is nothing but my data set, right? This is nothing but my data set. If I try to check the shape of the data, df.shape, and you can see it having, if I see the 550068, it will actually both append them or add them and make one total data set. Now we have our total data set, right? Now we can do the exploratory data analysis on this data. So let's do some basic operation of the data. So let's say basics operations. Okay, this one, let's take some shell, and those are the basic information regarding our data. Basic information regarding data set. Oh, why data set? Okay, those are the basic information regarding our data set. Let's say df.info for checking the information regarding your data set. So you can see here it having the user ID, which one is the int 64, and having the product ID, the gender, age, occupations, the city categories, stay in current city year, which one is the objects, that's meaning the string. So we need to also handle them this categorical value. So let's checking for the distribution also. Let's say df.describe, so that we can check the percentile also. So you can see the count, the mean, the standard deviations, the minimum, the 25% percentile, 50% percentile, 75% percentile, and also the maximum value, that how many maximum value are actually available. So now what I can do, we can do some data analysis and try to clean this data. So in this data, the user ID is not necessary. So what I can do, you can simply drop it. So what I can do, we can using here the df.drop, we can simply drop it from our list. So for that, I have to give here inside a list user ID, and what I can do, I need to also give here my axis. So it should be the user ID, and what I can do inside that, I need to give here my axis equal to 1. I need to remove this whole user ID column. Now one thing you can see in the describe, you can just see one thing, the user ID, the occupation, the material status, product ID, all the information are showing up. See, user ID is a string, the occupation is the integer, and also material status is all the integers, and product category 1, the product category 2, and the person, all are the integer or floating point number. If it is object, it don't show the describe the descriptions about the data set. It's just showing you the numerical one. Numerical आपको यहाँ पर देखेगा, आप देखेगा, right? So x is equal to 1, I need to make it x is equal to 1. That means all the column, this column I'm trying to drop it from a data set. Then what I can do, I can simply give here my in place as true, so that it don't take any extra gap. So let's in place equal to true. Then now what I can do, I can simply put it inside my data set. You can also do it, or you can shift enter. Then if you're tracking for your df.head, then what I can get, okay, you can see user ID is gone. Right? You can see user ID is gone right now in the data set. Okay, fine. Now you can see there is a one problem, that there is some categorical value also. There is some categorical value like gender, the age, the city category, and it have another one maybe. No, there no. Just having the gender and the age and the city category, we need to handle them. So what I can do, we are going to convert this categorical value into the numerical one. So what I can do, we can do the one-hot encoding or the label encoder. You can also do that, right? So let's checking the one simple technique. That's called the pd.get dummies. So let's say pd.get dummies. I mean, when you put this data inside your get dummies, then it will actually convert this data set, this gender column, into some numerical column. So what you can go, you can give here the df of genders, the genders to handle the categorical value, just converting them. Like यहाँ पर हमको convert करना पड़ेगा, लेकिन क्यों हमारा जो कंप्यूटर वगैरह है ना वो तो स्ट्रिंग नहीं पसंद है ना, तो वहाँ पर हमको क्या देना पड़ेगा, नंबर देना पड़ेगा, तो इसलिए हमको यहाँ पर इसको कन्वर्ट करना पड़ेगा न्यूमेरिकल में. So let's say gender, then what you can do, you can simply give here the drop first equal to true, right? So why should we need to give here the drop first? See, when you're creating the get dummies using the pd.get dummies, it will creating a separate column for that f and also for f, and it actually trying to do the data 0 and 1 like that. So when you are giving here the drop first, it's not creating an extra column, it's not creating an extra column like f or m. So then what you can do, you can simply pass it the same thing that actually going to get the dummies. So let's say gender, and you can see the df, let's say df. Now let's run here, and now you can see your gender is converted into, female is converted into 0 and male is converted into 1. Male is converted into 1. You can also do the mapping. You can also do the mapping. Don't worry, I'll show you this later on how you do the age one, right? How you need to handle the age one. See, we how can actually handle the categorical value. We now converting them our gender into the numerical value, categorical to numerical, right? Now we're going to handle the age one. So before handling the age one, we need to also check that how many value are available inside my age. So let's checking for that. Let's say df of age. So here I need to put here the age. Now let's checking for the unique value, that how many value are available. Unique value, right? So unique value, unique, and shift enter. Now you can see here it having some unique value. 1 2 3 4 5 6 7. Now there is one question. Let's say I'm trying to make it same the get dummies, right? I'm going to make this like that, that's called the get dummies. So what will actually happening here, the one problem actually happening here, if you see 0 to 17, it will make maybe 0, then 55 it maybe make it 2, and 26 to 35 it may make it 3. So see, but the problem is here when the 0 to 70 is a 1 and 80 to 25 is nothing but a 2. बट when you using the get dummies, आप जब यहाँ पर get dummies अप्लाई करेंगे तो वो क्या करेगा, 55 को 2 बना देगा, राइट? लेकिन तो यहाँ पर तो 70 के बाद तो 50 नहीं आता, राइट? तो इसलिए आपको मैप करना पड़ेगा, आपको मैप करना पड़ेगा. तो आप जो get dummies यूज करना है ना, it's better you can use it for the 2 1. If you have two value, right, like gender, male and the male and the female, then you can use the get dummies. But if you have the multiple number of value, तो क्या करना पड़ेगा भाई आपको, भाई मैप करना पड़ेगा, क्योंकि यहाँ पर तो जो है ना अलाइनमेंट तो इंपॉर्टेंट है. 0 से 70 0 70 के बाद तो 8 to 25 आता है, लेकिन यहाँ पर तो 55 प्लस है, तो अब मुझे तो क्या वो हैंडल तो करना पड़ेगा, राइट? तो इसलिए क्या करेंगे हम, इसलिए हम करेंगे यहाँ पर इसको करेंगे मैप. सो लेट्स से df of age. So you can also do one thing, you can also do the label encoder, but same things actually happening in the label encoder also. The pd.get dummies and the label encoder are mostly similar. It will try to make the female should be 0 and male should be the 1. But how you do the mapping in your own way, the manually, तो सही होगा भाई, सही होगा, right? So now what you can do, you can simply convert them into the map. So I'm going to copy them. Then what you can do, you can simply use the map function use करना है भाई, simple. Then what you can do, you can zip here 0 to 70. Let's say 0 to 70 यहाँ से copy करना. अच्छा, यहाँ से 0 to 17 उसको मैं बना दिया 0. इंडेक्स नंबर 0 तक स्टार्ट करते हैं, राइट? इसके बाद है 80 to 25, इसका करते हैं हम 1, ऐसे मैप करते हैं, राइट? इसके बाद 25 के बाद है क्या 26 है, लेकिन आप जब इसको pd.get dummies यूज करेंगे इसके बाद और लेवल एनकोडर करेंगे तो वहाँ पर कुछ मिस मैच होगा, लाइक 0 to 70 के बाद 55 आ जाएगा, राइट? तो गलत है ना. सो 25 का 35, इसके बाद है 36 to 45, इसका भाई कॉपी कर देना, यहाँ पर जाना, इसके बाद इसका कर देना 3, राइट? इसके बाद है 45 के बाद है 46 to 50. लेट्स कॉपी दिस आउट. मैं स्लोली जा रहा हूँ, राइट, स्लोली जा रहा हूँ। 4 इसका बाद है 50 से कहाँ पर है, 51 से 55, इसको कॉपी करना है, यहाँ पे पैच कर दो, फिर है 5, इसके बाद है 55 प्लस 55 प्लस इसको कर देना है 6, हो गया, काम तमाम हो गया। नाउ लेट्स चेक फॉर द df डॉट हैव। देखो, आप देखो यहाँ पर क्या होया, what actually happening here in the age column you can see 0, the 6 also, right? So this is how you can actually converting your categorical feature. You can handle the categorical feature into numerical one. There is another technique to do that. Let's show it up. So from scale on you can also do that. So let's do it for the age one. It's better, or gender, let's say gender, यहाँ पर करते हैं हम। Let's say from sklearn dot preprocessing we will import the label encoder. You can actually do the label encoder also, label encoder, and let's create one initializer for label encoder. So then what you can do, you can simply do the feed transform, lbl dot feed transform feed. You can also press the tab, and what you can do, you can simply pass here, मैं speed जा रहा हूँ यहाँ पर क्योंकि that's the second technique. एज को यहाँ पर पास कर दिया, एज को नहीं, हमको जेंडर को पास करना है, तो जेंडर को पास कर दिया। इसके बाद हम क्या करेंगे, फिट कर दिया ना, तो फिट करके किसका अंदर रखना है, हमको जेंडर के अंदर रखना है, हो गया, राइट, फिट हो गया, खत्म। ओके, नाउ व्हाट आई कैन डू, यू कैन सिंपली मेक ए कमेंट एंड रन द ऑल शेल फ्रॉम बिगिनिंग, रन ऑल। ओके, रन हो गया। देखो यहाँ पर कॉलम आ गया। ओके, देखो यहाँ पर भी कन्वर्ट हो चुका है, You can also do the same thing using the scale on to, right? You can use the pd.get dummies, you can also the map. So यहाँ पर हम 3 टेक्निक के बारे में सीखा। One is using the pd.get dummies, how you need to use. You have the label encoder, you have the mapping one, right? So आपको source समझ के आपको use करना पड़ेगा यहाँ पर, right? Then what I can do now, you need to also handling the city categories. So let's checking for the city categories. Let's say city categories. Yes, I copy karna bhai. City categories. Then what I can do, you can simply make it unique. So let's say unique. Now you can see it having just 1, right? 3. So you can also do the pd.get dummies, or also you can do the mapping. So let's do it for the label encoder. It's better. Let's do it for the label encoder. I'm just going to copy this out. This code label encoder. इसको इस कट करते हैं, राइट, सिटी कैटेगरीज कॉपी करते हैं, इसको यहाँ पर देते हैं, यहाँ पर देते हैं, हो गया, खत्म। देखते हैं आप डीएफ, देखो भाई सिटी कैटेगरी भी कन्वर्ट हो चुका है, राइट। सो लेट्स मेक इट हैट, सो अच्छे से देखना है, हैट, ओके फाइन। ओके, नाउ ऑल आर कन्वर्टेड इनटू द न्यूमेरिकल, कन्वर्ट हो चुका है। सो लेट्स चेकिंग फॉर द df.info। ऑब्जेक्ट है, इंटीजर है, इंटीजर, ओ यहाँ पर एक ऑब्जेक्ट है, राइट, ओके, ओ इट्स हैविंग 4+, ओ इसको क्या करते हैं, इसको रिप्लेस करते हैं, राइट। इट्स बेटर यू कैन एक्चुअली रिप्लेसिंग दिस आउट, क्योंकि यहाँ पर एक 4+ है जिसको हमको रिप्लेस करना पड़ेगा, और यहाँ पर जो प्रोडक्ट 1, प्रोडक्ट 2 और प्रोडक्ट 3 है, वहाँ पर शायद कुछ मिसिंग वैल्यू है, उसको भी हम हैंडल करना पड़ेगा। सो नाउ व्हाट आई कैन डू, यू कैन सिंपली converting this stay in current city years, this 4+ into blank, right? I mean just 4, right? So what I can do, you can just copy this stay in current city year, then let's say df, and इसका अंदर देते हैं इसको city in year, then let's copy this out, इसको copy करते हैं, then what I can do, you can make the string and you're going to replace, किसको रिप्लेस करना है भाई, मुझे इसको रिप्लेस करना है, हमको रिप्लेस करना है प्लस से ब्लैंको, देखते हैं हो गया कि नहीं, df.add, शायद हो जाएगा, हो गया 4। Now let's checking for the informations, let's say info again, ओके, अभी भी नहीं हुआ, ऑब्जेक्ट में नहीं हुआ, तो इसको क्या करना पड़ेगा हमको, इसका टाइप चेंज करना पड़ेगा। इसको टाइप हमको चेंज करना पड़ेगा क्योंकि वो ऑब्जेक्ट में है, इसको टाइप को चेंज करना पड़ेगा। तो हम कैसे करेंगे इसको टाइप चेंज? तो यहाँ से हम कॉपी करेंगे, इसको कॉपी कर लिया। इसका बाद इस यहाँ पर एक फंक्शन है जिसे बोलते हैं एस टाइप, तो इन कर लेते हैं इसको, शायद आप हो जाएगा टाइप कंट्रोल। जैसे डी एफ डॉट हैट, हाँ हैट नहीं भाई, इंफॉर्मेशन लिखना था मुझे। अब हो गया, इन 32 इन 32 64 64 हो गया। So product is nothing but the object because it having some like p, so it may be the objects, so don't worry on that. Now what did it do? We need to also handling the missing value, right? We need to handle the missing value. If I go on the product 1 category 1 and the product category 2 and the product category 3, you can see here there is some missing value are available. For checking that, so what I can do, let's say handle the missing value handling, right? Handling, okay. So check करते कैसे, df dot is null, तो हम देखा था ना, क्या है ना, वही पांडास के सीरीज में वहां पर देखा था हम लोग। सो यहाँ पर बहुत सारी मिसिंग वैल्यू है, प्रोडक्ट 2 पे है, प्रोडक्ट 3 पे है, प्रोसेस में तो होगा क्योंकि वी कंबाइन द टेस्ट एंड द ट्रेनिंग, so we don't need to focus it, we just need to focusing the product category 1, we don't focus on the product category 1. So let's checking for the product category 2 first. Just copy this out here from, that's a df, and I'm going to passing here the product category. इसका बाद क्या करना पड़ेगा भाई, इसका बाद यहाँ से लेट्स चेकिंग फॉर द यूनिक वैल्यू so that we can get some idea regarding my data. Well, so this is nothing but one distinct value, 6 14 2 8 0 15. It's not a fractional value, right? Not a continuous value. So what I can do, you can simply fill this missing value. Maybe we can drop this column, but it's quite informative, right? So if I checking for the correlation between the data, so let's say df.core, so you can check that it having some correlation with the data, right? Product category 1, product category 2, see that highly correlated, some column are highly correlated, right? So we can drop them, we cannot drop them, see 0.54, so it's correlated actually. So what I can do, we can drop it, we can simply fill this missing value, fill this missing value. So let's checking for the count also, that's for counts, that's a value counts, which one, value counts or value counts, okay, value counts, okay, like that. So let's checking for the value counts, okay, यहाँ पर तो value है ना, so सबसे ज़्यादा कौन सा है, 8.00. So we can replacing this value because this is nothing but one distinct type of value. So what I can do, we can simply replace this value using the mode, right? Using the mode. If it is a continuous value, we can replace this value with the mean value. So let's checking for the mode also. So let's say mode. So mode क्या आता है? Mode आता है 8.00. 8.00 हमारा mode है. Okay, fine. So if I'm trying to check getting the value, so I need to give it 0. Okay, 8.00. So now what I can do, we can simply going to fill all the value, the null value is in this 8.0. Using the 8.0. So what I can do, we can simply copy this, paste it here. Let's take some shell also. And then what I can do, we can simply paste it here and we can pass it. We are going to simply fill it using this product category, right? So I'm going to copy this out and I'm going to using the same thing, dot fill now the null value is in this mode. Now let's check now. So let's say df, okay, df dot is null dot sum. यहाँ पर फंक्शन देना पड़ेगा क्योंकि इस null में फंक्शन है ना, इसलिए. Okay, we handle the missing value of the product category 2. Now what I can do, you can simply checking for the same process for the product category 3. So what I can do, you can simply checking for the unique number in the product category 3 too. So 3, this one, let's check this is distinct or not. Okay, this one also distinct. So what I can do, you can simply do the same thing for the product category 3 too. हो गया, इसको बना देते हैं 3, इसको भी बना देते हैं 3/3 हो जा। अब हो गया हैंडल मिसिंग वैल्यू। सो मिसिंग वैल्यू तो हैंडल हो गया। सो नाउ वी क्लीन आवर डेटा करेक्टली। देखो भाई कितना मेहनत लगता है डेटा क्लीन करने का, राइट? सो जेंडर, एज, ऑक्यूपेशन, city category, all the value is right now converted into numerical column, into the numerical column. Now what I can do, we can simply do some data analysis on this entire data, because we handling all the missing value, and we handling uh, all the problems regarding our data set. Now you can simply do the exploratory data analysis, right? That's called the EDA. EDA, right? So what I can do first? First, we simply do the count plot regarding our data set, that how many data are actually available inside our data set. I mean the gender, uh, and the product category number, the product category 2. So what I can do, you can simply using the count plot. So let's go on here. Let's go SNS count plot, and we can simply passing here my df. Let's checking for the first genders and pass it here, and let's check this out. And you can see this is the count plot regarding your gender. In the one, it's nothing but the male. That's mean most of the people in the Black Friday, they're buying a male, right? Male are mostly buying the product, right? So you can also change the style that, so that you can do some styling. That's a plt dot style. Let's do some styling on that, because this just looks so muddy. It's just like the matplotlib, because it is in the seaborn. So अच्छा तो होना पड़ेगा. So style यूज करते हैं 538 38. इसका बाद यूज करते हैं plt. अरे भाई plt डॉट फिगर का साइज देते हैं यहाँ पर. सो फिक्स साइज कितना देंगे यहाँ पर? वैसे फिक्स साइज दे दो 32 दे दो, हो जाएगा शायद यहाँ से. देन हो जाएगा यहाँ से. वाह, नाउ इट्स लुक गुड, राइट? पिछले बार से अच्छा है, बहुत अच्छा लग रहा है. Okay, you can see here the distributions. I mean, how many value are available for the male or the female. तो मुझे लगता है मेल बहुत इतना तो शॉपिंग नहीं करता, लेकिन तो शॉपिंग तक कर लिया यहाँ पर ब्लैक फ्राइडे में. So also let's checking for the distribution of the data set about the purchasing, because purchase is nothing but my target column. So let's checking for the distribution about the data. So let's say SNS dot, it is this really distributed correctly or not. So this plot, and let's checking for the purses. So purses के बारे में देखते हैं. PURCH purses, okay, purse, not purses. Let's give here the bean size. So beans, let's say 25 देते हैं इसको. Okay, let's checking for the distributions. हमारा जो पर्सेस है वो कि नॉर्मली डिस्ट्रीब्यूटेड है और नहीं है. ओके, डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन तो अच्छा है ना, डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन अच्छा है. क्वाइट गुड. नाउ लेट्स चेकिंग फॉर द काउंट प्लॉट रिगार्डिंग द एज. कौन सा एज यहाँ पर ज़्यादा मार्केटिंग करते हैं यहाँ पर? वाह, टू पे तो टू कौन सा है? टू है, हम तो मैप किया था यहाँ से ना. टू है हमारा, किधर गया, यहाँ पर है. टू है 26 to 35. सो 26 से 35 जो है मेरे तरह, तो वो ज़्यादा शॉपिंग कर लिया ब्लैक फ्राइडे में. राइट? सो देखो टू पे मोस्ट देन, वाह बहुत ज़्यादा है, बहुत ज़्यादा. सो सिंगल को देखते हैं यहाँ से, सिंगल और मेरिट से. आई मीन मटेरियल स्टेटस, इसको भी देखते हैं, लिखते हैं मेरिटल स्टेटस पे देखते हैं ये कि शादियाँ वगैरह है, नहीं सिंगल वगैरह है. वाह, सिंगल वगैरह तो ज़्यादा कर रहे हैं शायद. सो मेरिटल स्टेटस लेट्स से 0 मीन्स नहीं करा, वंस मीन शादीशुदा है. तो जो सिंगल है हमारा तरह, वो तो बहुत ज़्यादा शॉपिंग कर ले रहा है यहाँ पर. सो लेट चेकिंग फॉर द स्टेट इन सिटी नहीं चाहिए मुझे. ऑक्यूपेशन से करते हैं, राइट? ऑक्यूपेशन से करते हैं. So let's checking for the occupation too. Let's copy this out. Oh bhai, let's copy this out and I'm going to pass this out. मैं slowly जा रहा हूँ यहाँ से. Occupation, just copy this out. Copy करते हैं यहाँ से and let's make it occupation. देखते आते हैं नहीं. यहाँ पर जो 4 नंबर के है वो बहुत ज़्यादा है, बहुत ज़्यादा है, right? So this is how you actually explore your data set, the distributions, the count plot, that how many data are actually available. Now let's checking for the visualization based on the target column. So let's do it. Let's say visualizations में अच्छा slowly जा रहा हूँ. Age versus purses. Okay. So visualization करते हैं age और purses के अंदर. So for visualization the age and the percent, what you can do, you can simply using the sns.bar plot. So bar plot में ज़्यादा अच्छा देखेगा. So you're going to passing here my age, then you're going to passing here my purses. So purchase को यहाँ पर देते हैं. In the hue, let's making for the gender. Let's say hue gender को देते हैं, gender को देते हैं. इसके बाद मेरा डेटा को पास करना पड़ेगा. पास कर दिया. अब देखो भाई यहाँ पर पास तो कर दिया, कुछ टाइम लगेगा यहाँ पर, राइट? क्योंकि डेटा एनालिसिस जब करते हैं ना, आपको स्लोली करना पड़ेगा, क्योंकि यहाँ पर बहुत सारे बहुत कुछ है यहाँ पर, और डेटा से तो काफ़ी लंबा भी हो, तो इसलिए काफ़ी लंबा भी हो सकता है. आई मीन डिटेल तो लंबा हो गया, क्योंकि यहाँ से यू कैन सी हियर बेस्ड ऑन द डेटा जेंडर female are most person things, right? I mean female का एज है ज़्यादा. 0 is a female, 1 is a male. That's mean मेल मेल तो मैंने बोल दिया यहाँ पर काउंट प्लॉट पे मेल ज़्यादा है. तो यहाँ पर देख रही है हम जो पर्सेस के बारे में जेंडर पे मेल ज़्यादा है. आई मीन मेल आर बाइंग एक्चुअली मैन इज हायर देन द वुमेन, राइट? पहली बार हुआ है यहाँ पर in this data set. So let's checking for the another column too. So let's checking for the purses or the product category. Product category के बारे में देखता है यहाँ पर. Product category better you can checking for the material status. So single ने भी ज़्यादा shopping किया और merit ने. Let's copy this out now here. यहाँ से copy करते हैं, यहाँ से paste करते हैं. देखते हैं हम. टाइम लगेगा कुछ, क्योंकि यहाँ पर बहुत सारे लंबे डेटा सेट यहाँ पर लोड होने वाला है, इसलिए. सो यहाँ पर देखते हैं हम. ओमेन तो हर गया क्योंकि ब्लैक फ्राइडे में तो मेल ने शायद एक्चुअली मेल को तो अपना परिवार संभालना पड़ता है शायद, इसलिए. सो 1 पे मेल है. सो मेल आर ऑल्सो द मोस्ट इन दिस केस based on the genders. So this is how you can actually explore your whole data set regarding all the columns. So it's your homework to do that. आपको यहाँ पर करना पड़ेगा. Then what I can do, now you're going to simply going to break down this data set in the train, test and split, so that while you are building any machine learning model, you can actually do this thing to do the train, test and split. So this is nothing but called the feature scaling. So let's checking for that. Okay. So यहाँ पर तो हम data analysis के बारे में जाना था. So now we're going to do the feature scaling. So let's do the feature scaling करते हैं हम. काफ़ी important होने वाला है. Okay. So now what I can do, we have the two data set. There's one is called a training and another one is called a testing. So now we need to making the X column and the Y column. X and the Y, X is dependent and Y independent features, right? I mean the target column, simple target column, and X are the feature column. Now what I need to do, we need to divide them, the data set into the train, test and split. But the question is, when you are trying to convert them, I mean when you are trying to break them into the train, test, split, if you see, we combine the whole data set. Called the training data set and the testing data set. Now, in this case, when you're trying to divide them, you get some null value in the parses column, in the parses column. So that's why we need to actually taking the parses inside our testing data, and we need to actually remove them, and the training data, in the training data we need to also checking them. So let's checking them, is there any null value available inside my testing data or not. So let's say df, and I have to pass in here my df of parses. So purcha parses, and let's checking for the is null. Let's say is null. Is there any null value or not? Is null, like that. So let's checking for the df test. df test से तो शायद तो निकल गया है यहाँ पर, सारे वैल्यू तो नॉन में कन्वर्ट हो चुका है, राइट. So what I can do, we can simply dropping this column from the train. ट्रेन से हमको ड्रॉप पर्सेस को ड्रॉप कर दिया ना, then what I can do, you can simply convert them into the x and the y. So it's better we can do it for the training one, right? So let's say df.train, oh, it's not train actually, df underscore train dot head. Now we're checking this one, यहाँ पर है हमारा ओके पर्सेस वगैरह है, लेकिन यहाँ पर तो हम क्या किया, इसको तो कन्वर्ट कर चुका है ना हम यहाँ पर, we convert them into the numerical column, categorical column, the numerical column. So now from the data set of the df.train, df data set, we need to remove this purses column. To remove the purses column, if I'm tracking for the my df dot head, see we actually pre-process our data set. We convert them the categorical to the numerical, but in the purses column there is some value are missing. Some value are missing in the purses column because we combine them. So that's why you need to actually remove some null value. If I'm checking for that, there's some all the null value in the testing data. So that's why what I need to do, we need to just taking the column which don't have the null value, So for that we are going to using here the df of train, and I'm going to using here a technique to actually remove the purses column. Let's say purses, so purses purchase, okay, purchase, and let's say if is null, how many value are null actually here, and then I'm going to remove all of them. So let's say df the train, let's checking for that now. Let's say head, let's checking for that all the value are converted to null, is null. Okay, यहाँ पर तो null आ रहा है ना, जो value null है यहाँ पर. Okay, got it. I need to making here one sign to make it perfect. Now शायद काम करेगा यहाँ पर. अब काम कर गया, right? So we actually removing the testing column, because see one thing, in the testing one we don't have the value, but we actually append the whole data, we concatenate the whole data, and we do the pre-processing on the data set. Now when you're trying to making them into the x and the y, we need to also removing the purses which value are null. So this is how you're actually removing the purses value from your data set. Now your data is clean, df.train is clean. Now you can actually convert them into the x and the y. You can actually making the dependent and the independent features. So let's say x equal to df train drop. Then what I can do, you can simply pass here the purses, क्योंकि हमको purses को नहीं चाहिए x पे. Let's make it x is equal to 1, क्योंकि column को हमको यहाँ से cut करना है, x हो गया. Now what I can do, you can simply checking for the x dot head. So let's the x dot head जो है हमारा features column. So in this column you don't have the purses one, right? यहाँ पर purses नहीं है. That's mean in the y, what I can do, you can simply put it inside my y. So let's say y equal to df underscore train, then I'm going to pass in here my purses. See, now we're converting this data into the x and the y. X mean all of the features column, and the y is nothing but my target class. Now what I can do, you can simply using the train test split to divide my whole data set. So for that, what I can do, you can simply using here the sklearn, but we don't actually we don't learn about this scalar yet, but we will learn about that in the later on. But one thing, just remember, while you're trying to building any machine learning model, you need to divide your data set into train, test, and split. For the training, you need to have the 80% of the data, and in the testing, you need to have the 20% of the data. So from sklearn sklearn dot model selections, we're going to importing the train, test, and split. Train, test, and split. Okay, right? So inputting here the train, test, split. Now what I can do, you can simply pass my x-axis, I mean my x data, the dependent and independent features, and I need to give here the test size also. Let's say give here test size. So test size देते हैं यहाँ पर. So test size, let's give him here 0.2, 20% of the data, and let's give him on random state, so that you don't actually changing this state. Let's say give it 42. And now we're going to making them in the x train and the y train. So let's say x train and the x test. Oh bye. Then we're going to making this y train and the y test like that. Now we divide this data into train, test, and split. Okay, train, test, split, train, test, split. Oh भाई, पर 2 बार हो चुका है शायद इसलिए. Okay, now it's done. So if we're checking for the shape of the x, let's checking for the shape of the x. So this is a shape, and let's checking for the shape of the y. So y का shape देखते हैं यहाँ से. Shape. Okay, fine. It's the shape of the y. It's just having the 1, and the shape of the x just having the 2 row, right? 2 columns. Sorry. Now we divide them data set into train, test, and split. Train, test, and split. So in the data set, we can also drop this product ID. So अच्छा होगा हम product ID को drop करते हैं. So but we actually convert this data set into train, test, split. So हमको क्या करना पड़ेगा यहाँ से? df जो train है ना, वहाँ से हमको drop करना पड़ेगा. So x train यहाँ से हमको यहाँ से drop करना पड़ेगा कौन सा product ID, क्योंकि हमको product ID नहीं चाहिए. This one is nothing but one categorical value, so we don't need the product ID, which one is not important. So we're going to make it x is equal to true, or let's say x is equal to 1 and in place equal to true. In place equal to true. See, in the y column is don't have the product ID because this is nothing but my target class. So that's why in the x-axis, I mean in the x features, you need to actually dropping the product ID. So for the test also. So हो गया, drop तो हो गया. Okay, so this is how actually you can drop the columns for the product ID and inside your X train and the X test, right? So well, so now what you can do, you can simply doing the feature scaling, and you can train your model using some machine learning algorithm. So now my question is it a classification problem or the regression problem? So if I checking my data set, that's called the persist column. If I go up and if I checking my training data set, and if I checking for the persist column, so this is not a classification problem. This is nothing but one regression problem, right? Regression problem. It's nothing but the value about the continuous value, right? Based on the category, you need to predict the value. That's mean this is nothing but one regression types of problems. So now what I can do, you can simply do the feature scaling. So for that, we're going to be importing from sklearn. So we didn't actually learn about the sklearn yet, but I'll try to cover up something. Just think about it, that how it actually works. Preprocessing, we're going to be importing here the standard scalar, right? Then what I can do, you can simply creating here one instance of that. Let's say sc equal to standard as standard scalar. Then we can simply do the fit transform and the transforms, right? Fit transform and the transforms. Now the question is when you should do the fit transform and when you need to do the just transform, right? In the training data set, you need to do the fit transform. You need to fit your model with the data, and the testing, you don't need to do the fit, just you need to transform the data. So for that, you're going to using here the fit transform for the which data, x train data, and then you do the simply using the transform for your test data. Just transform the test data. So let's make it test. Okay, now let's try to make it in the inside the x. train. It's actually converting your data set in a simple range 0 to -1 or -1 to 0 like that, right? So that your model try to predict it correctly, right? Okay, let's make it test. Now simple. So now if I try to check for the X train, so X train, okay, so not X dot train, is called X train. And you can see here all the value are actually converted into -1 to 0. Now you can apply some machine learning algorithm like regression algorithm, like linear regressions, the logic regressions, the all kind of regression types of algorithm you can actually apply to predict your purchase, right? So this is how the Black Friday data set actually we actually exploring the data actually, right? That how can you handle the missing value, how can you handle the categorical variable, how can you do the visualization and checking the data set. I mean how your data actually tell about the data. I mean columns, and you can do the count plot, you can do the visualization, the distribution about the data, all the things you can actually know about your regarding your data set, right? And how can you divide your data set in the training task and split, and how can you prepare for the machine learning algorithms, and how can you choose that is it X, is it nothing but a regression problem or a classification problem. So that's it for today. Now in the next tutorial we're trying to do some we're trying to do some more projects regarding this EDA and the feature engineering part. So hope you enjoy tutorial and make sure to subscribe to the channels and don't forget to hit the bell icon. And I'll be back with the tutorial. So till then, take care and bye bye.